Welcome back to another episode of the Inside Track, Equibase's weekly handicapping podcast, where we give our analysis, picks, and wagers for a couple of the top weekend's races. I'm your host, Ben Kudla with Equibase. I'm joined again today by a very friendly face, Corey Patton, the CEO and co-founder of Pramana Labs, which creates all the Statlines handicapping content on Equibase.com. So thank you again for being back, Corey. Always a pleasure.
Ben, I love doing this every week. I think we have an incredible lineup of races to talk about this weekend.
We do. What a weekend of racing. I mean, we got 15 Breeders' Cup prep races. I mean, just nuts. We got Keeneland opening up on Friday, and it's wonderful. But before we dive in, so be sure to sign up and play for the Race to the NHC, which is a free weekly feeder contest. On horseplayers.com. Just a friendly reminder, you do have to be an active RaceLens user. But the top two contestants from each week will make their way to the RaceLens Final 50, and the top two contestants in the RaceLens Final 50 will get a seat to the NHC 2025 in Vegas. So anyway, we have a fantastic show. We got the Grade 1 Champagne Stakes at Belmont at the Big A, the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity, and Grade 1 Turf Mile Stakes at Keeneland. So let's just dive right into this Champagne Stakes. Going 1 mile in the dirt for 2-year-olds. Breeders' Cup winning year in for the juvenile in November at Del Mar. Some amazing horses have won this race as 2-year-olds. A couple to mention the last 20 years is Scat Daddy, Uncle Mo, Union Rags, Daredevil, Practical Joke, Complexity, Jackie's Warrior, Jack Christopher, and last year's winner was Timberlake for trainer Brad Cox with Florent Giroux aboard. So stacked race. Let's do it. Who do you got?
I love this race. I think this is a fun one. I mean, I just love the fact that we're starting to get some 2-year-old stakes races to talk about because they mature so quickly and they change so rapidly between races that for a handicapper, it's really tough sometimes. And other times, if you find somebody on the upswing, you can really ride them to some prices. And I love it in this race. And so I think in this race, to be honest, I'm going back to Moplex. And if you remember, I loved Moplex in the Grade 3 Sanford and just won that race in a very professional manner. Won the race before that over this track by about 10 lengths going into the Sanford, and then came back and had a really professional win in the funny side. If you watch that race, and you do have to go back and watch races, that's something I emphasize for handicappers all the time. Just watch them because looking at the past performances can sometimes be misleading. And this one, when you watch the start of Moplex in the last race, completely blew it. And then if you watch the head-on, went way out into the middle of the track, and everybody else dives down to the rail, gets positioned, finds themselves where they want to settle into the race. He's way out in the middle of the track and then has to find his way back over and loses just a ton of ground into the center and ended up 3 wide around the entire track, right? So then got cut inside, turning into the lane by soon-to-be king before finding his best stride late and getting up. And I think Moplex just looked best at the end, like it was, I had a tough trip, very professional way of winning. And I think the added distance should be no issue at all. It's, Moplex is by Complexity, kind of a new sire, really has only had one starter at this point that's run a mile or further. So it's hard to really judge that. But the bullet work, that 47.6 on the 15th of September, really nice. 1 of 71 bullet. That's pretty impressive. Okay. Englehart wins at 24% in dirt miles this year. Okay. That's, 1 in 4. That's pretty good. Complexity, if you look back to the sire, because that's kind of what you have to do with these 2-year-olds with new sires, Complexity won this race in 2018, right? So has also, and won his only race over the Aqueduct surface in 2019, was a miler, winning the Grade 2 Kelso at the distance and finishing 4th in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile as well that year. So the sire says go. The mare, Mojoy by Uncle Mo, out of a Lemon Drop Kid mare. Horses usually get their distance, from the dam side, and I'd say Uncle Mo, Lemon Drop Kid says can run all day. So I don't think distance should be any issue with the breeding of this horse, right? I understand that Ortiz has jumped off this horse, and we can talk about that in a second. But Manny Franco, 6 of 14, 43% over the last 30 days in stakes races. I'm okay with that substitution. 43%. That's a Pramana Statline for you. Lifetime. Englehart and Franco are 18% together with a positive ROI, so they can get it done together. And over the past 2 years, Englehart is 13 of 58, 22% over this surface. So I like Moplex's chances to run a professional race. I think it will sit a nice trip, and I think he will win in the end.
I love it. I mean, I think you're gonna get a pretty decent price on him too, with Chancellor McPatrick out there and a couple of top Fletchers in there. So I love it. Yeah, we got two the top two first crop sires. We got Complexity and Vacoma going head to head, their progeny. So gonna be an unreal race. But I'm just gonna say this on air. I think we have a 2-year-old who only has 2 starts under his belt. Chancellor McPatrick will be a future Hall of Famer. I think this horse is the absolute real deal. I mean, best late rate, best late pace rating in the race with the 104.5, ranked first in average class and average speed. Chad Brown has won this race 4 of the last 8 years. Chad Brown wins at 28% in the last 5 years with the horses on dirt first route race, 69 of 249. Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt win at 35% in the last 5 years in 2-year-old stakes races, 70% in the money, 7 wins from 20 starts. In the past 3 years, Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt win at 28% in just graded stakes races alone. That's 38 wins from 136 starts. And some stat lines for you. Flavian Pratt, he's won 4 of 8 stakes races in the last 10 days. And Chad Brown and Pratt are winning at 67% in route races in the last 10 days. Just all these stats are just crazy. But most importantly, it's this last race. Winning that grade 1 hopeful stakes at Saratoga. He hit the gate at the start. He was bumped. He lost an iron. He went 7 wide going into the final turn and was able to prevail at the end, surging away, beating Ferocious. Just an absolute crazy race to watch. And to win a grade 1, I mean, just wow. I'm just so thoroughly impressed by this horse. And if he's 1-9, I think he deserves it. To me, it's a straight win bet. Key him in some pick 3s and doubles. But
yeah, I'm a little worried about your money management betting a 1-9, but I think there's a lot to talk about. Let's unpack what you just said. You just said a 2-year-old with 2 races under his belt will be a future Hall of Famer. That's a mouthful. I'm glad it's on recording on telecast. So we'll come back here when it happens, and I'll say Ben said it first, right? And I hope so. I'm not going to. I mean, if you do watch that last race, ultra impressive. Can't take anything away. That horse was just covered in dirt, finishing the race.
Yeah, he really was.
Been through the war at that point, but. You know, one convinced. I mean, in a nice way. I mean, Ferocious didn't beat Ferocious by a ton, but won nicely with all the trouble, right? I'm going to go Key off of that first race where he won that maiden special weight and look at and we'll come back to this, but I want to talk about it as it applies to the Futurity race at Keeneland. But he beat Craft and Noble Confessor right behind him in that first race, right, with an 82 rating and very nice performance that day. But we'll come back to the competition he beat that day, right? Because I think it applies now to the Futurity when we get to those races. But I'm not sure. I think this horse is good. I think this horse could win this race easily. I will not be surprised if at the end of the day, Chancellor McPatrick wins this race and wins it convincingly. However, I'm going to bet against. I'm going to bet against from that outside post. I'm going to bet against the fact that there's some other horses in here who have the right to really improve by leaps and bounds. It's always tough with these early 2-year-old stakes races because you have horses that have come out of just straight maiden races, and what are they going to look like? But Chancellor McPatrick came out of a straight maiden race to win a grade 1 stake, the hopeful, right? So it can happen, and you can improve really quickly. My underneath, another value, which I think I'm going to get a good price on, is Vacoma Rides. And that's who I'm going to play underneath Moplex. I think this horse, and if we're going to watch the stretch run video here, I think this horse has got every right to improve. I do love the Vacomas. I think they're really coming out strong as a 2-year-old crop. And when you watch the way that this horse finishes so well, I love the professional nature of it. So watch the 7 horse coming into the stretch here. Okay. On the outside, watch that lead change right there professionally, right on cue. So many 2-year-olds you see have to be asked to switch leads. This horse come into the lane, switch leads, perfectly pull away as if there's nothing behind him. Carmouche is basically standing up at the finish line in this. Watch it. Much more in the tank. Handles the track.
He really does just stand straight up.
And nobody's making up on that just stood up canter, right? So I love Vacomas. I think they're already out there winning. I had that Jonathan's Way a couple weeks ago, that Vacoma, which just made mincemeat of the competition. John Kimmel is 3 of 9 already at the meet, so 33%. He and Carmouche are 22% together since January of this year. Sire Vacoma has had 3 horses go a mile or further so far. It's early, 1 for 3. That was that Jonathan's Way win. Vacoma undefeated at 2. We mentioned that a couple weeks ago, winning the grade 3 Nashua over this same surface. I think this horse is set for best, and I would not be surprised if Vekoma Rides flips the tables on Moplex and gives Chancellor McPatrick everything that he wants.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's hard. I can't argue with that. And yeah, I mean, that race was really impressive. Another one I'm really intrigued on is this Uncaged. I'm a little bit worried about the Joel Rosario Todd Pletcher matchup. They only win at 10% in graded stakes races together in the last 3 years, but I don't know. I thought that was a really impressive race on that muddy Saratoga track, sitting in inside and fourth for most of the race, and swung wide at the top of the stretch and just surged away. And I think he learned a ton from that race as well. And we've yet to see his potential. And another reason why I like Chancellor Patrick so much is he has that graded stakes under his belt. And so a lot of these horses that are just coming straight from maidens, it's hard to tell. But Pletcher does win at 31% in the second career starts on dirt on first route in the last 5 years. That's 50 wins from 159 starts. That's a really good sample size and a really impressive 31%. I don't know if he has enough to beat Chancellor McPatrick, but he could. I mean, it looks really good and just so unknown. But it's also, if you're going to look at Top Pletcher in that exact same category, you do have to look at Tip Top Thomas as well. But with Irad Ortiz jumping off of Moplex.
Yeah. What do you make there with Ortiz jumping off of both Uncaged and Moplex and landing at Tip Top Thomas?
I think it's definitely very telling. But we'll see. I mean, if he stayed on Moplex, I'd be a lot more apt to kind of agree with you. But the fact he is on Tip Top Thomas, that's pretty interesting. But, going back on the race, I thought Uncaged performance was much more impressive than Tip Top Thomas. But, I guess these jockeys know best and these trainers know best. So we shall see. I mean, that's what's so much fun about these 2-year-old races is there's so much unknown and there's so fun to watch. So I guess we'll see and see kind of how these odds fare out at post time. But,
yeah, I can't wait to see you plunk down on a 1-9.
Yeah, it's in a 2-year-old race. But anyway, so there are picks for the Grade 1 Champagne Stakes at Belmont at the Big A, which is Equibase's feature race of the week. So now let's go to Keeneland. Finally, we're back in action at Keeneland in the Bluegrass. So we have the Grade 1 Claiborne Breeders' Futurity going 1 mile and a 16th on the dirt for 2-year-olds. Another Breeders' Cup winning year in for the juvenile. And another race where some amazing horses have come out of Knicks Go, Maxfield, and Forte, just to kind of name a few. Last year's winner was Locked for trainer Todd Pletcher in his second consecutive win in this race. He ended up finishing third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile that year to Fierceness and Muth. So there's something for you. But yeah, another fantastic race. And I think we can have a little price this race compared to last. But I'm intrigued to hear what you say.
Yeah, I think this is a price. This is another one of those where I'm going to use some of what we just talked about in the last race, the Champagne, to kind of handicap this one, because these are 2-year-olds moving all over the country. Now, on the rail in this race, the clear favorite is going to be the 8-5 morning line is going to be Ferocious. Okay, Ferocious finished a half length behind Chancellor McPatrick in that last race, and it was didn't lose by much. Right. So if you look at that by properties, if Chancellor McPatrick is a Hall of Famer, then Ferocious should win this race.
That's true.
Transitive properties, right? So with that said, I'm going nowhere near him. I'm going to try to beat him with a horse at a nice price here. And I really think the backtrack's going to show a lot here. And then I'm going to use a little bit of what I mentioned earlier on the Chancellor McPatrick angle. Let's go with Filoso to win this race at the 1 line. And I want to watch the race here. I want the people to see how this race set up for this horse, which wins, I think, again, ultra impressively. Now, we're going to start it from the very beginning because at Saratoga, this configuration, you go ahead and play it, the configuration at that distance, at that 1 mile distance, the inside horses kind of have to get out of it. And so once they break the gate, watch the 2 cuts in, and then the 2 gets crowded down by the 3, comes in on him. And then watch this, see the rail? He's got to get out.
Yeah.
Go into that rail. Look, he gets bunched up and has to take back all the way on the rail, so he can't use his natural speed. So now he's mid-pack, trying to find a spot, saying, okay, we got to gain some spots here. We got to figure out where we're going around this track. And the 2 is down inside, gets kind of crowded. So you'll watch this kind of hard to handle at this point in time in the race because he's got so much pace. Then the glacial pace. We're going 24-3 here. Watch it. this is just so slow. And so he's back there saying, okay, this is way too slow, but I'm kind of stuck down here on the rail behind some horses. And you'll watch when they get to the seven furlong mark, he's going to have to check again here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he checks again. Oh, stop right there. Okay, stop still. Now he's like, where am I going to go? I got a ton of horse. I got nowhere to go. So waiting for that rail to open up, potentially coming into the stretch, asking him, say, stay right there, stay on the backside. And now watch this move.
Yeah, props to Dylan Davis. I mean, that horse, like at this point in the race, you would think, oh, the probability is really not too high to win.
I've been dropped. Now that rail opens up, and this horse just takes off like it was shot out of a cannon. Up the rail and then gone and wins for fun here. He's going to win by about 3.5 lengths. Probably could have been more. Taken off, and these horses that are finishing behind him. Take note of these horses. There's that horse, T Craft. Okay. There's the other horse. Noble Confessor. These are both horses that finished second by a length to Chancellor McPatrick and third. Okay. And Filoso just dusts these horses. Okay. They finished fourth and fifth here. Okay. Those same horses. So we're going to watch that. And you see that horse just win for fun. I love that race. Okay. So the favorite in the race we just watched, Noble Confessor, finished 12.5 lengths behind Filoso. Okay. Came back to finish second by a neck in his next race. Out of that race we just watched to Zulu Kingdom in the Grade 2 Pilgrim Stakes. Zulu Kingdom beat Tenacious Leader by a neck by a neck. Leader will be one of the top betting choices in there as well. So you look at that. Okay. Confessor comes out of that race, lost by 12.5 lengths to that horse we just watched, came back to finish second in a Grade 2 in his next race. Okay. Chancellor McPatrick, be the favorite in the Champagne. Beat T-Craft by a length on that January 27th race at Saratoga. You saw T-Craft in there come back to finish fourth behind Filoso, beaten 9.5 lengths. Okay. Noble Confessor finished third in that race with McPatrick, came back to that same race we just watched, fifth, beaten over 11 lengths. Okay. So if you look at that, I feel like this horse has got every right to compete with the Ferociouses that just lost to Chancellor McPatrick and that type of horse. So sometimes you got to look at the competition they keep to figure out whether that was a validated win or not. And I think it was a nice win. So I like Filoso a lot. Chad Summers, the trainer, doesn't always get a ton of top quality horses at this age, but they paid $210,000 at the Keeneland September yearling sale last year. Summers wins at 24% in dirt mile and a 16th races this year. Okay. Got a very similar race pattern, workout pattern to his last race. Goes 5 panels in 101, then half mile and 48 and change. Here he gets a 5 panel just under 101, and then another half mile and 48 and change. So I like the workout pattern coming into it. He's raced at a mile, versatile in running style. Clearly, after watching that last race, looks like he'll enjoy the two turns. Gets Johnny Velasquez from Dylan Davis. Dylan rode a great race in that race, but
I really did. Yeah, props to Dylan Davis there. He's been on fire.
Absolutely.
Really happy for him. And I love Johnny V up here too. I mean, obviously Dylan Davis is not in this race, so that's a great pickup.
I'm good with that. I love the win early pedigree. City of Light, fierce sire of fierceness as well. Out of the Bodemeister mare Kenda, who I remember following on the West Coast, won 2 of 10 races, 5 of 10 in the money, including an overnight stakes at Santa Anita. Summers has never started a horse at Keeneland, which is the only concern there. So,
pretty unknown. And I'm sure Johnny V has never ridden for Chad Summers, I would assume. I haven't looked up the stats on that. But.
Has not. And Summers has only started 1 2-year-old in a dirt stakes race at a mile or further in his training. So, little unknown, but I like everything else.
No, I like it. Yeah, it's hard to talk you off that. And what are the morning lines for that one? I don't even know. I printed off the form too early.
12-1 for Filoso.
There you go. I love it. I'm kind of the same way. I kind of like a 10-1. And yes, I know Ferocious got second to Chancellor McPatrick, which I think is going to be a future Hall of Famer. But I think Ferocious will get second. Who I'm actually going to go with here is Handsome Pants, the 4 at 10-1. A really nice win last time out in the main special weight. Churchill going the mile and the 16th distance and won by a length and a half. One of the few horses in here that's gone 2 turns, which I think is really important, especially as a young 2-year-old. And he laid fourth in the rail that race and split horses on the final turn. It was in a pretty epic battle with that 3-5 favorite Kinetic Control. I mean, he just put him away at the end. Very, very impressive race for a 2-year-old going 2 turns. Ran 87 Equibase speed figure that first time out, solid. He's the best average class in this race actually with an 85, which I kind of find surprising. And another thing to note I find critical is Brian Hernandez Jr. aboard. In the last year, he's winning at 27% on dirt in second routes, 9 of 33. It's kind of an interesting stat. You know, and he's been riding lights out, and obviously, you know, Torpedo Anno and Mystic Dan and that duo that we've seen so much this year. Kenny McPeak, he's winning at 20% in the last 3 years in dirt route 2-year-old stakes as well. So 49 starts from wherever that is. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he's just one of 2 horses who have run at this distance, and he's the only one in this race to have won at the mile and 16th distance, I think is just vitally important. And I was very happy to see that 10-1 morning line. I think he's going to run a really nice race. I love it. But yes, I do like Ferocious in second, you know, especially with Chancellor McPatrick beating him by just a half a length. And that ran a 102 Equibase speed figure in his first time out at Saratoga, winning by 7 3/4 lengths. Here's a stat line for you that you can find at equibase.com. That is the second best debut Equibase speed figure of any 2-year-old first-time starter in the last 180 days. Wow. And best average speed in here with a 97, also ranked first in early and middle pace rating. Working out like a monster. Bullet work on September 28th, going 5 furlongs and 59.2. Whoa, cooking. You know, and small sample size, but Gustavo Delgado and Luis Saez went at 40% together. 80% in the money in the last 3 years. That's just 2 wins from 5 starts, but that is the sample we have to go off. First time Saez is on this horse, which will be interesting. You know, I like him a lot, but I think 8 to 5 in here is just way too low. So I'm going to go elsewhere, and I'm going to go with Handsome Pants at 10-1.
Man, I won't talk you off of that. Again, the connections are doing well this year. So I will say my second choice here, my underneath, is not going to be Ferocious at 8 to 5. It's going to be the opposite end of the spectrum. It's going to be the longest shot in the field on the outside, Ready for Peace at 30 to 1. Okay. And I'll tell you why. If you look at the running lines, you look at the horse there, you say, okay, this, you know, doesn't seem exactly like a horse that would win this race, except has done nothing but go route of ground, has done nothing but run on the turf so far. So you don't really know, may move up on the dirt. The last race at Kentucky Downs in that juvenile mile, kind of that weird and tiring configuration out there. Wasn't a graded stakes, but the purse was $1 million. So kind of like a stakes race, much more value than a lot of graded stakes because of those Kentucky Downs purses. So kind of salty competition. Lifetime at Keeneland, trainer Ignacio Correa and Jose Ortiz, 3 of 10, 30% with a 563 ROI. Okay. At a mile and 16th on the dirt at Keeneland since 2019, the 11 post has the second best winning percentage at 14% and in the money 40%. So can win from that post. That can be done. I love Ortiz up. Correas is super hot right now too. 2 for 3, 67% overall the last 10 days. Pramana Statlines, 3 of 6, 50% over dirt the last 45 days. So is getting it done. I think this horse may sit a decent trip, may take to the dirt, definitely has the bottom to go this distance, and the trainer's hot. So let's give it a shot at 30 to 1 to spice up those exotics.
I love it. 30 to 1. Can't beat that. But yeah, there you have it. So going with Peloso and Handsome Pants here for the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland on Saturday. And last but not least, we do have the Grade 1 Turf Mile Stakes at Keeneland, going 1 mile on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. Finally not a 2-year-old race today, but it's been great. And Breeders' Cup winning your in race for the Breeders' Cup Mile. Todd Pletcher has also won this race in the last 2 years. Last year's winner was Up to the Mark with Jose Ortiz aboard. He went on to run second last year in the Breeders' Cup Turf. So absolutely stacked race. You got a couple Euros on the rail. I mean, it's interesting, but I'm excited to hear your pick. And I think we kind of agree on this one, but we'll see.
I mean, I'm not going to talk you off of a low price favorite in here because I'm pretty sure you'll go there too. It's just Carl's Backler's race to lose. I think so on the outside. The most likely winner. I am going to follow up with some value in here, but I think Carl Spackler is the horse to beat in here for sure. He paired up those 114s in his last 2 races, and that 4-star Dave, when you watch that, was stunning. And looked like that horse, again, even as much as that horse wins, seems to get better, looked like he had a ton more to give to. That 114 could have been even better. Is 5 of 6 lifetime at this distance. I mean, he just wins. Gaffleone, 5 of 6 on him. So jockey knows how to handle him. Carl Spackler and Talk of the Nation have pretty much just faced each other a ton of times. Spackler's got his number, and I think, post 9, 14% winner since January of 2023, going a mile on the turf at Keeneland. That shouldn't be a terrible problem for him out there. I like the way that horse settles and stalks, so probably find himself somewhere in a good position. There's not a ton of speed, so I think he can get over and find that stalking spot. I'm not concerned about that. But
I agree.
Chad Brown and Tyler Gaffalione, they 22% together lifetime on turf, 25% together on turf at Keeneland lifetime, 9 of 36. Okay,
they get 26% in graded stakes in the last 3 years together. So.
You got it. So 38% together and 75% in the money over the last 90 days. I mean, 26% together in route graded stakes. I mean, they just keep coming, right? Mm-hmm. Chad Brown, 26% when he runs a horse at Saratoga and then starts it at Keeneland in his next start. Pramana, that line there. Only caution, Spackler's never run over this Keeneland sod. And Chad Brown, lifetime 0 for 11 in the Coolmore Turf Mile. Interesting.
But I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I think this is Carl Spackler's race to lose. Honestly, one of the most impressive things that stood out to me is his late pace rating of a 120.5. I haven't seen that in a minute. And yeah, I mean, morning line 2 to 1. If he's 2 to 1, I'll take that any day. I mean, and find some value underneath. Yeah, to me, that's a clear winner to me. Yeah, 5 or 6 of this mile distance, and is also in the last 6 starts. But yeah, wholeheartedly agree with all your comments. I do know we both have some value underneath, so we can try to hit some exactas. But who you got underneath for Carl Spackler?
I got a 20 to 1 shot, and I'll tell you, it's one of those kind of hidden to me. Noises off for Paulo Lobo. Okay. I mean, it's a big price, but Lobo, it's interesting. Lobo has won 2 of 4 Coolmore Turf miles that he's had horses in. Okay. And finished second and a third, never finished worse than 4th. All right. So, I mean, 75% of the exacta is kind of glaring in this specific race. 17% of his career training wins at Keeneland have come in this stakes race. So it's crazy, right? I mean, just looking at this, it's kind of crazy when you go back in history with this stuff. And luckily, we got Pramana Shift to do it. He won with Ivar in 2020 at 14 to 1. Then the next year, right back to back with In Love at 12 to 1. Ivar came back in 2022 to finish second. So he has experience winning this race. I think Noises Off is getting better. Okay. And I think he has a series of very professional, nice performances, albeit not in graded stakes races, which is, Spackler's jam. His last in that $500,000 handicap at Kentucky Downs, that was basically a stakes race. Okay. He beat Cash Equity relatively easily, who will take some money in here. Okay. And the winner in that race, if you go back and watch it, Goliad, came right back to win the grade 3 millions, where Cash Equity finished second and beat Talk of the Nation, who will probably be second choice in here in that same race. Where would Goliad go off at in here, right? What would he go off at in here? I mean, this horse, Noises Off, lost to him in that last race by 3/4 of a length. Okay, and he came right back to win. So that race was validated. That horse is pretty nice. I think Goliad would probably take a bunch of money in here. So the other thing that I look at when you look at competition is, look at this move. Lobo and trainers, they have tells and they give moves. They give the way that they train horses and the way they move horses are very telling in performance styles. So let's look back at what he did when Ivar won this race for Lobo in 2020. Came out of an overnight stakes at Kentucky Downs and then won this grade 1 turf mile at his next start. When In Love won the race in 2021, came out of you guessed it, an overnight stakes at Kentucky Downs before winning this turf mile in his next start. Noises Off, overnight stakes at Kentucky Downs, running in this race. So you know what? If you're looking for angles for big price, there's an angle there. He's 19% with a positive ROI when starting a horse at Kentucky Downs and running him at Keeneland in his next start all together. So has done it before. So we'll see. Noises Off has a run over the course. I'll take a big price on this one.
Love it. I love it. But I'm kind of hoping you're wrong that Cash Equity won't get as much play. He's morning line 15 to 1, but I think Mike Smith on here just says it all. I mean, especially winning 2 of 4 stakes in the last 10 days and 3 times the money. There you go for some stat lines. And just off my own knowledge, he won over $1 million last week in earnings. Just nuts. I mean, he's kind of getting fewer and far between mounts, but he's picking them and he picks to win. And Safi and Smith do particularly well together. All time, 43% win percentage, 3 wins from 7 starts. That's all time.
Oh, yeah.
Not a huge sample size, but they run to win. This horse has not won in over a year, but he has been there every time. He's never lost by more than 2 1/4 lengths since he was claimed back for 80K back in November of last year. Really nice run. That grade 3 Mint Millions run a 113 Equibase speed figure, using by just the length to Goliad. And like you said, I wonder what Goliad would be in here, and I just think he's going to run really well. I was surprised at the 15-1 morning line. I think you're right. We probably won't get it, but I think he's going to run really well and probably get up there for second behind Carl Spackler. So.
Hey, look, I think we both find some value underneath Spackler, and maybe you can pair him up with a couple of cold exactas here and there. But yeah. I think it's Spackler's race to lose, and it's hard for me to see ways that Spackler doesn't run a great race. But we'll see. We're going to try to find some value around him.
We'll see. Well, thank you, Corey. This has been so much fun. I am so excited for these races this weekend. 15 Breeders' Cup prep races. Just finally opening day at Keeneland. This is going to be great.
I love it. You got Keeneland, you got stakes races all over the board. You got a Hall of Fame horse running. I can't wait.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, everybody, so much for watching. We really appreciate it. And good luck in all your wagers this weekend. And we'll see you next week.